Hi, today I'll be unboxing the Q-See QCN8035Z pan and tilt zoom dome camera that I'll be mounting outside eventually to have surveillance on the front of my driveway as well as my porch. So the camera is packaged quite nicely, protected from getting damaged during transport. I'm just gonna take everything out here. As you can see in the box, there's the bracket, and this is the bracket that's going to mount onto your wall. Pretend my table is your wall, and this is the way it mounts. And it's got it's hollow on the inside because that's where you're going to run your wire from your camera to connect to your network cable that's coming from inside your house. Also in the box is a power adapter. And this is only required if you're going to be running this as a standalone unit. There's a bag of goodies in here. I'll open that up shortly. And then there's your main camera, dome camera. As you can see, it's wrapped up nicely, protected from any damage. The cover is also protected with some plastic. I suggest not taking this out until after you've mounted your camera, just so you don't dirty it and put fingerprints all over it. This is the end of the cable, which includes several connections. I'll talk about the ones that I'm not going to use. This is for power, which is what the adapter I showed you earlier would plug into. That's only required if you're going to use this as a standalone unit. In my case, I won't be doing that because I'll be connecting my unit to my NVR, my Q-See NVR, which is a network video recorder. These here are 8 wires, and there is a label that tells you what these wires are for, each one. Some of them are for alarm inputs and outputs, and some are for audio inputs and outputs. I'll take a picture with my cell phone so you can and zoom it in so you can actually get a clear view of what each wire represents. Now here's your RJ45 plug, and as I mentioned, I'm going to have power over Ethernet because my network video recorder supports that, hence why I don't need to use the additional power supply. So I'll just plug directly into this, and everything else here pretty much is going to be left alone. Now focusing on the bag, we have a pair of gloves. And these gloves, I guess, are used to handle the camera so you don't put any fingerprints on the lens as you're working on it. There's a CD with installation software, which I never use anyways. And some stickers. It's hard to see them. In this box here is what looks like plumber's tape, and this tape is used around this collar here, which, think of it, so here's the thread of the collar. Basically you wrap that tape around the collar several times. If you're a plumber or you've done some plumbing, you'll know what this is all about. And when you screw it into your bracket, it'll create a nice watertight seal, preventing any water from getting inside your bracket. Also, you'll notice that once you do screw it into the bracket, that there is a screw on the side of the bracket that you need to tighten. Obviously, you would take your wires once you mount your bracket, or prior to mounting your bracket, connect your wire from your cable to your RJ45 plug here, and then feed everything through your bracket through the other end, which then goes into your house. Then I suggest you screw this piece in after you put the tape on into your bracket, and once that's secured, then you can mount onto your camera, and there's 3 screws which you would tighten using the Allen wrench provided here. Once you've tightened that up, your camera is secured. Now, mounting the bracket onto your wall, we've provided some concrete anchors. These are actually heavy-duty anchors. I've used them in the past to anchor 4x4 posts to concrete pillars using brackets. So the way they work is you would drill a hole to the length of your anchor, which is approximately where my thumb is here, right there. And the size of the drill bit you use should allow this piece to go into the hole tightly. Don't make it too big, because if you make it too big, you might have some problems. So I suggest, after you've drilled the hole in your wall to the length of this bracket, that you back out the nut slightly so it's above the actual bolt. Place this into your wall and bang with a hammer on here until it's all the way in. So having backed out the nut prevents you from damaging the thread on the bolt. So once you've mounted all four, then you obviously remove the nut. You've got a washer and you've got a lock nut. So you would put your bracket on the wall through the bolts. Then you put the washer, the lock nut, and as you tighten the nut, what it's going to do is actually pull this bigger part through. It's actually going to push this, creating this to bulge out. That's why there's holes here. So it's going to cause this to bulge out as this gets pulled in, creating a tight seal between your brick, preventing this from having any lateral movement, making it virtually next to impossible to pull out once you've got it tightened up. Before you mount your camera, you need to take the Allen key provided, and you need to remove the 3 screws, one here, and one down there. Remove those 3 screws, pry the cover off. Once the screws have been loosened, just pry the cover off. Put it aside. As you can see, it's got the protective cap on the lens with a piece of tape. Simply remove that tape and a little plastic cover. Now, what you'll also notice here is there's a piece of foam with a silica pad here, I guess protected from moisture during while it's being stored. So just remove that. Careful not to get the pad stuck anywhere inside there. Remove it gently, squeezing it as you do it. And so now you've got your pan and you've got your tilt, as you can see. That's your lens, and I guess I should have my gloves on to prevent any fingerprints from going on the lens. Once you've done that, you can place the cover back on, tighten up the screws, and like I suggested, don't remove this plastic until after you've mounted the camera. Just want to mention the camera itself is not a 4K camera. It's 1080p HD. So from what I've read in terms of reviews and other people that have got this camera, they're quite happy with the quality of the video. So my other cameras on my system are all 4K, and I'm quite content with the quality. So once I've got this hooked up, I'll post some video showing you the quality so you can judge for yourself. I just want to mention that it's going to be a bit of a challenge for me to mount this camera onto my house because my walls are finished, so there's no way I can just drill directly into the house and then feed the cable into the bracket. So what I'm going to end up having to do is try to see if I can find a box or make a box that will be the same size as a bracket that I'll mount onto the wall. And what that'll allow me to do is, because right now my cable is running from my soffits, I've got it coming out of my soffits, and I plan to have it come down and go into the box. So I'll drill a hole into the box, seal it after with some caulking, and that way I can mount the wire into the bracket, because there's no other provisions to take the wire out from the bracket. You're forced to come out of this hole. So that's the only way I'm going to be able to mount my bracket and connect my wires. If you're lucky and you're able to drill directly into your house, then that way it's a lot simpler.